there! Welcome to...
Hold on! It's my turn! World Wellness Green Store! Let's go explore the green wellness together!
Selecting appropriate plant species is one of the most important decisions when designing an aquaponic system. Different plants require different nutrient concentrations, growth conditions, and environmental support. In aquaponics, plants rely on nutrients produced by fish metabolism and converted by beneficial bacteria. Because nutrient levels in aquaponic systems are determined largely by fish feeding rates and biological filtration processes, plant selection must align with the nutrient supply available in the system. According to research from public agricultural universities and aquaculture extension programs, understanding the nutrient demands of different plant types helps growers maintain balanced aquaponic ecosystems. Plants grown in aquaponic systems are often categorized into two broad groups based on their nutrient requirements: leafy greens and fruiting plants. Leafy greens are plants primarily cultivated for their leaves rather than for flowers or fruits. Examples include lettuce, spinach, kale, basil, arugula, and many culinary herbs. Fruiting plants include species that produce edible flowers, fruits, or seeds such as tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, eggplants, and strawberries. Leafy greens typically have moderate nutrient requirements and grow relatively quickly because they focus their growth on leaf production rather than reproductive structures. Their demand for nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium remains lower compared with fruiting crops. Public agricultural research institutions frequently recommend leafy greens as ideal crops for beginning aquaponic growers because they adapt well to the nutrient concentrations typically produced by small to medium fish populations. Nitrogen plays a particularly important role in the growth of leafy vegetables. Nitrogen is a major component of chlorophyll, the molecule responsible for capturing light during photosynthesis. Adequate nitrogen availability supports the production of large, healthy leaves with deep green coloration. In aquaponic systems, nitrogen originates from fish waste and becomes available to plants primarily in the form of nitrate after bacterial conversion. Because leafy greens utilize nitrate efficiently, they often thrive in aquaponic environments where nitrate levels remain stable. Their relatively short growth cycles allow growers to harvest leaves frequently while maintaining consistent nutrient uptake from the system. This steady nutrient removal also helps maintain balanced water chemistry for the fish. Fruiting plants, by contrast, often require higher nutrient concentrations and longer growing periods. Crops such as tomatoes and peppers must first develop strong vegetative structures before producing flowers and fruits. During the flowering and fruit development stages, nutrient demand increases significantly. In addition to nitrogen, these crops require higher levels of phosphorus and potassium to support reproductive development. Phosphorus supports energy transfer and root development within the plant. During flowering, phosphorus contributes to the formation of reproductive structures that later develop into fruits. Potassium helps regulate water movement within plant tissues and supports fruit quality, flavor development, and stress tolerance. Public horticulture research programs emphasize that fruiting crops require balanced nutrient availability throughout their longer growth cycles. In many aquaponic systems, nutrient concentrations generated by fish waste alone may not fully satisfy the demands of large fruiting plants. Some systems compensate by increasing fish biomass or adjusting feeding rates to increase nutrient availability. Other systems may supplement specific minerals when plant demand exceeds the natural nutrient supply produced by fish metabolism. Plant growth structure also differs between leafy greens and fruiting plants. Leafy vegetables typically grow close to the root zone and require minimal structural support. Fruiting plants often grow taller and produce heavier fruits, requiring support structures such as trellises or vertical supports. These structural requirements influence the design of aquaponic grow beds and planting arrangements. Growth time is another important difference between these plant groups. Leafy greens often reach harvest size within a few weeks under favorable conditions. Fruiting crops may require several months to complete their growth cycle and begin producing harvestable fruits. This difference influences production planning in aquaponic systems. Because of these characteristics, many aquaponic growers begin with leafy greens when establishing new systems. These plants adapt well to moderate nutrient concentrations and help stabilize the nutrient cycle while bacterial populations and fish feeding schedules become established. Once the system reaches stable operation, growers may experiment with fruit and crops that require higher nutrient levels. Environmental conditions such as temperature, light availability, and water flow also influence plant selection. Leafy greens often tolerate cooler temperatures and moderate lighting conditions, while fruiting plants typically require stronger light intensity and warmer temperatures to produce flowers and fruits effectively. Matching plant nutrient demands with the nutrient supply generated by fish metabolism allows aquaponic systems to maintain balanced productivity. Leafy greens provide efficient nutrient uptake and rapid harvest cycles, while fruiting crops offer larger yields but require more careful nutrient management. Understanding the difference between these plant groups helps growers design aquaponic systems that align plant growth requirements with available nutrients. This balance supports both plant productivity and water quality stability for fish populations. In aquaponic systems, plant roots grow directly in water or in inert growing media that remains saturated with nutrient-rich water. Because the root environment differs significantly from traditional soil conditions, plant species must be compatible with water-based root systems in order to grow successfully. Root structure, oxygen tolerance, and growth patterns all influence how well plants adapt to aquaponic environments. According to research from public agricultural universities and horticulture research institutions, selecting plants with root systems suited to aquatic conditions improves both plant health and system stability. In soil-based agriculture, plant roots grow through a mixture of mineral particles, organic matter, water, and air pockets. These air pockets provide oxygen that roots require for respiration. Roots absorb oxygen and nutrients while expanding through the soil in search of resources. In aquaponic systems, however, roots are surrounded primarily by water rather than soil. Because water contains less oxygen than air, aquaponic systems must ensure that sufficient dissolved oxygen reaches plant roots. Some plant species adapt naturally to environments where roots are frequently exposed to water. These plants often develop root systems that tolerate continuous moisture and reduced oxygen availability. Leafy greens, such as lettuce, spinach, and basil, are examples of plants that perform well in water-based systems because their roots function efficiently under these conditions. Public horticulture research programs frequently recommend these crops for aquaponic production due to their strong compatibility with water-saturated root environments. Root structure plays a major role in this compatibility. Plants grown in aquaponic systems often develop long, fibrous root systems with many fine root hairs. Root hairs are microscopic extensions that increase the surface area available for absorbing nutrients and water. In nutrient-rich water environments, these fine structures allow roots to absorb dissolved nutrients efficiently. Healthy aquaponic roots typically appear white or cream-colored and have a firm texture. These characteristics indicate that oxygen availability and nutrient delivery are adequate. Growers often inspect root systems visually because changes in root color or texture may signal environmental problems. Darkened or slimy roots may indicate insufficient oxygen, microbial imbalance, or excessive organic buildup within the root zone. Oxygen availability remains one of the most important factors affecting root health in aquaponic systems. Plant roots require oxygen to perform cellular respiration, which generates energy used for nutrient absorption and growth. Although roots are submerged or partially submerged in water, dissolved oxygen must remain available in the nutrient solution. Water movement helps maintain oxygen supply within the root zone. Circulating pumps move water through grow beds and root systems, preventing stagnation and allowing oxygen from the surrounding air to dissolve into the water. In some aquaponic systems, aeration devices also introduce air bubbles that increase dissolved oxygen levels throughout the system. Root density also influences plant compatibility with aquaponic environments. Some plants develop extremely dense root systems that can fill growing channels or containers quickly. While strong root development supports nutrient absorption, excessively dense roots may restrict water flow within the system. This can reduce oxygen distribution and interfere with nutrient circulation. Plants with moderate root density are often easier to manage in aquaponic systems because they allow water to circulate freely around the root zone. Leafy vegetables typically develop root systems that remain manageable within standard grow beds or nutrient channels. Fruiting plants may develop larger root systems that require greater space and stronger water flow. Root growth patterns can also influence system maintenance. In certain aquaponic designs, roots grow through channels where water flows continuously past the plant base. Long routes may extend through these channels and occasionally require trimming to prevent blockages in plumbing systems. Routine observation helps maintain healthy root growth without disrupting water circulation. Some plants produce thicker, woody root structures that are less suitable for water-based cultivation. These plants may require soil environments where roots can anchor deeply and access oxygen through soil pores. Crops with such root systems may struggle in aquaponic environments because their roots are not adapted to continuous water exposure. Root diseases can develop when oxygen levels decline or when organic debris accumulates around root structures. Certain microorganisms thrive in oxygen conditions and may damage plant roots if environmental balance is disrupted. Maintaining strong water circulation and stable water quality helps reduce the risk of root-related diseases. Temperature also affects root performance. Warmer water temperatures increase metabolic activity but may reduce dissolved oxygen availability. Cooler water holds more oxygen but may slow root metabolism if temperatures drop below optimal levels. Maintaining balanced temperature conditions supports both plant growth and microbial stability within the aquaponic system. Root compatibility also interacts with the design of the aquaponic system itself. Different aquaponic methods, such as floating raft systems, medio-filled grow beds, or nutrient-filmed channels, create slightly different root environments. Some plants perform better in certain system designs, depending on how their roots grow and interact with water flow. Selecting plants with root systems suited to water-based environments helps maintain stable aquaponic operations. Plants that tolerate continuous moisture, maintain efficient root respiration, and allow adequate water flow around their roots are more likely to thrive in aquaponic systems. By understanding how root structure and oxygen requirements influence plant compatibility, growers can choose species that adapt naturally to aquaponic growing conditions. This compatibility supports healthy plant development while maintaining stable water circulation and nutrient delivery throughout the system. In aquaponic systems, plant productivity depends not only on nutrient availability and root compatibility, but also on how plants grow over time and how frequently they can be harvested. Yields expectations and harvesting cycles influence system design, crop planning, and overall production efficiency. Because aquaponic systems operate continuously with recirculating water and ongoing fish feeding, plant production often follows repeated growth cycles rather than a single seasonal harvest. According to research from public agricultural universities and controlled environment agriculture programs, understanding plant growth timelines allows growers to maintain steady production while keeping the nutrient cycle balanced. Plant growth begins with germination, the stage in which seeds absorb water and activate metabolic processes that initiate development. During this early stage, seedlings develop their first roots and leaves using energy reserves stored in the seed. In aquaponic systems, seedlings are often started separately in small germination trays or inert growing media before being transferred to the main grow beds. This early stage requires stable moisture, moderate light, and gentle nutrient conditions until roots become established. Once seedlings develop their first true leaves, they enter the vegetative growth stage. During vegetative growth, plants focus primarily on producing leaves, stems, and roots. This stage is particularly important for leafy vegetables because the edible portion of the crop is the foliage itself. Public horticulture research programs note that rapid vegetative growth allows leafy greens to reach harvest size relatively quickly when environmental conditions remain favorable. Leafy greens typically have short growth cycles compared with many fruiting crops. Lettuce, for example, may reach harvest size within a few weeks in aquaponic systems operating under stable conditions. Herbs such as basil and mint can also grow quickly and may be harvested repeatedly by trimming mature leaves while allowing the plant to continue growing. These rapid harvest cycles make leafy greens especially suitable for aquaponic systems because they provide continuous nutrient removal from the water. Frequent harvesting of leafy crops helps maintain nutrient balance in the aquaponic ecosystem. As fish produce waste and bacteria convert it into nitrate, plants absorb these nutrients through their roots. When plants grow rapidly and are harvested regularly, they remove nutrients from the system at a steady rate. This process helps maintain water quality for fish while supporting consistent plant production. Fruiting plants follow a different growth timeline. Crops such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers require a longer vegetative stage before they begin producing flowers. Once flowering begins, plants transition into the reproductive stage, where energy and nutrients are directed toward fruit development. This process typically requires more time than leafy vegetable production and may take several months before fruits become harvestable. Fruiting plants also produce harvests over extended periods rather than in a single event. Once the plant begins flowering, fruits may continue developing for many weeks as long as environmental conditions and nutrient supply remain stable. Public horticulture research programs emphasize that maintaining consistent nutrient availability is particularly important during fruit production because these crops require higher nutrient levels to support both vegetative growth and fruit formation. Harvest timing influences how aquaponic systems are managed. Leafy greens allow growers to harvest plants quickly and replace them with new seedlings, maintaining a constant production cycle. Fruiting crops remain in the system longer and require careful monitoring of nutrient levels, plant support structures, and pruning practices to maintain healthy growth. Plant spacing also affects yield expectations. Plants that are spaced too closely may compete for light, nutrients, and oxygen within the root zone. Proper spacing allows each plant to develop a full canopy of leaves that capture light efficiently for photosynthesis. Adequate spacing also promotes airflow around plant tissues, which helps reduce the risk of plant diseases in humid greenhouse environments. Environmental conditions strongly influence plant yield as well. Light intensity, temperature, and water flow affect photosynthesis and nutrient uptake. When these environmental variables remain within optimal ranges, plants convert light energy into biomass more efficiently. Public agricultural research institutions highlight that stable environmental control allows aquaponic systems to achieve consistent plant yields throughout the year. Harvesting methods vary depending on crop type. Some leafy vegetables are harvested by removing the entire plant from the system. Others allow repeated harvesting by trimming mature leaves while leaving the plant base intact. Fruiting crops are typically harvested multiple times as fruits reach maturity over an extended production period. Continuous production planning helps maintain system stability. Because fish produce nutrients continuously through feeding and metabolism, plant production must also operate continuously to absorb those nutrients. Staggering planting schedules allows new crops to replace harvested plants while maintaining a consistent number of plants in the system. Predictable harvesting cycles also help growers estimate nutrient demand. When plants are harvested regularly, nutrient uptake remains relatively stable. This stability helps maintain water chemistry balance within the aquaponic ecosystem and supports healthy fish populations. Yield expectations depend on multiple factors, including plant species, environmental conditions, system design, and management practices. While aquaponic systems can produce high-quality crops, productivity depends on maintaining balanced conditions where fish metabolism, bacterial filtration, and plant nutrient uptake remain synchronized. Understanding plant growth cycles and harvesting patterns allows growers to design aquaponic systems that operate continuously rather than seasonally. By coordinating planting schedules, harvesting practices, and nutrient supply, aquaponic systems can maintain steady crop production while supporting the biological balance that connects fish, plants, and microorganisms within the system. Thanks for watching World Wellness Sustainable Farming.
Thanks for watching! Hope you liked it!